Mayor Mark Sheldon is pushing for a $10 million pedestrian bridge to connect Frank Brown Park to Aaron Besant Park. It's great for music festivals. It's the city's #1 priority this year. They've got a bunch of projects, and they plan to spend $236 million. 2 years ago, the budget for the city was only $42 million. That's why locals are paying so much more in assessments to the city. Mayor Sheldon says it's worth it. After all, he owns Gulf Coast Jam. The city's #1 priority will benefit his music festivals. He wants more state and federal grant money as a slush fund.
These are significant projects that will make a huge difference in our community. The first is to pursue any available state aid for the planning, design, and environmental studies related to a pedestrian bridge connecting Aaron Besant Park and Frank Brown Park. This walkover would link these two public parks and provide a safer avenue for our residents.
Yeah, sure it will, Mayor Mark Sheldon. All right, tonight I'm going to show you something super important because Winston Churchill said when the Nazis began bombing London, Winston Churchill said, I don't know if this is the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning. And I'll tell you with regard to the shocking decision that has long-reaching constitutional effects and that emboldens the creepiest psychopaths in Bay County who can hurt you and will. This is not the beginning of the end. It is the end of the beginning because there will be an appeal. And as many people will learn about what Judge Kelvin C. Wells did. Kelvin C. Wells, who every judge in Bay County recused themselves. And so they brought in Judge Kelvin C. Wells. He's a bum. He is a bum. People say, why do you keep calling him a bum, Bernie? Goodness gracious, that's not proper. Well, I wouldn't do it in the courtroom. But on the internet, I get to do it, and I'll prove it. So I call him a bum because he is a circuit court judge, which is a higher judge than a county judge, and they got to work harder. And he wants to be a county judge. He wants to go down, not up. He's the only judge in the world that wants to go down, not up. And see, if DeSantis appoints him to the county, and looks like he will, then DeSantis gets a twofer, and he can appoint one to replace Judge Wells in the circuit court, higher court. See, circuit court judges have to work hard. They can ruin your life. A county judge, they can kind of skate by. They can loaf, and they can ruin your week. Kelvin Wells here, he's I've been working too hard. I just want to be a county judge and cruise on to retirement. Ain't that right, St. Joe? BlackRock? Whoever else I need to please in order to get that county gig, I just want to skate. He's a bum, Judge Wells. All right. If you don't ever see me again, just know I'll miss you and come find me. And I love my life. All right? Love my life. I want to live a long life and a happy life. Is that on record? Strike! Okay, Judge Wells is here. Sit down and thank you very much. That's what he told the defendant. Sit down. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. All the attorneys in the room went, damn. Clearly unbiased and unfair. And I'm going to show you. In the courtroom, anything the prosecutors wanted, Judge Wells was asking them. He's a dummy as well. I don't know how dumb he is. I just know he didn't do any research. He didn't pay any attention to the case. He just kept asking the prosecutor, Sullivan, what is it again we're doing? And Sullivan would tell him. And then the defense attorney, who is really outstanding. I'll tell you what, I've seen some defense attorneys at work, some of the best in the Finch and Margot persecutions. and they were the best I'd ever seen. But I got to tell you, Don Pumphrey, basically, Judge Wells said, put him in handcuffs. Put Don Pumphrey, the defense attorney, put his hands behind his back, and then bring out Sullivan. Sullivan runs out, little skinny Sullivan, and then they're going to have a boxing match, Judge Wells said. But how are they going to do that when Don Pumphrey, the defense attorney, has both hands behind his back in handcuffs? Well, he's an experienced attorney. He can figure it out. Ain't that right, Frank? Ain't that right, Sullivan? That's right. And then they have a boxing match, and Sullivan's got use of both arms. And Pumphrey almost wins. How's that happen? Because he had the truth and because he is determined and passionate. And he has the respect of every attorney. I can't believe how much respect. You meet attorneys like, yeah, that guy's pretty good. But without exception, every attorney said, Don Pumphrey, man, had a huge impact on my life. He's like a hero of mine. That guy's the greatest. How is it I never even really knew Don Humphrey or heard of Don Humphrey? Pumphrey, sorry, P-U-M, Pumphrey. But wow, so impressive. But the judge stole his entire defense. You want to see? I'll show you how. All right. The first thing I think I'm going to show you. Oh, and I'm also going to show you again the video that led to the arrest, and we're going to analyze it. It's this 3-minute video. And I promise you, you will leave tonight knowing exactly what the issue is. Okay? That's my goal. Because it takes time for me to take all this complexity, and then I wrote it all down. It was like 3 pages, right? And I'm a big believer that if you can't say something in a sentence or two, or if you can't define something in a sentence or two, you probably don't understand what it is. So I'm striving to gain clarity and to be able to explain this more succinctly, and I'm getting there. And so that means you will too. So by the end of this show, you're going to know exactly why the jury had to vote the way they voted to convict Hoot Crawford of interference with child custody and tampering with a witness. They had to vote that way because Judge Wells made them vote that way by removing any other option. Yeah. All right, but first thing I think I'm going to show you is this. So last night, anytime a good person gets hurt in Bay County, I've noticed something happens. You'll get the you mad bros, as Sarah Moon calls them. You'll get these real people who, and you can immediately know who they associate with by the snark and the meanness and the true ignorance, just not knowing type ignorance. And so last night, this happened to me. I was like looking through some of the comments, and I'll show you. I noticed this one asshole, and you got to forgive me. I'll do my best. Anyway, I'll show you what I mean. So look at this. So at first I thought it was a fake account because the name's Sullivan. That's the same name as the a prosecuting attorney in this case. And let me make this bigger for you. Let's see. I think that's a big. So a guy named Samuel H. Sullivan. Never heard of this dude. Don't know anything about him. But this happens again when good people get hurt in Bay County. He says, "You're not going to believe this story. What's a shame is you using this unfortunate individual to further your conspiracy-minded, twisted thought process by influencing him, Hoot, to continue to trial. You think you are an attorney, but I can assure you that you have no clue what you're talking about. Your fallible and false influence on Mr. Crawford will possibly in part cost him his law license and possibly his freedom. Hopefully he will explore legal remedies in this regard, and particularly against you." So I said, yeah, that's what we can do. I can do it this way. So I said, hey, let's debate the issue on the show. I'll give you more time to talk than I take. and you can straighten me out for everybody to see. And since his last name is Sullivan, are you related to the prosecutor? And I gave him my number. Call me. And we'll set it up. He says, I'm not calling you on a recorded line, but you should at least consider what part you played in this. This Hoot attorney should have explored options other than putting his case in front of a jury. Did you encourage him not to in order to promote your podcast of 30 members asking for a friend? All right. Asking for a friend. That's original. So I said, so no debate. The snark comments are stale. Again, are you related to the prosecutor? And let's air this out. You can show everyone how wrong I am, and you'll get more time to talk than I take. He says, oh, okay, he goes on. I need to read it. You do allow other opinions on this forum, for sure, but the situation with this Hoot attorney should have been handled by others with more practice or of resolution. So he doesn't think Don Pumphrey did a good job. What you have put on your page presses for full board jury trial. What a mistake. I pray for this elderly gentleman and his law license. He says, but you don't care about this old man's law license. You care about clicks. And that's sad. All right, so I said, who the hell is this guy, man? Why is he so interested, and how does he know so much about law, and why is he so concerned about this old man, kind of thing. And so, I went poking around to see if this is a fake, sock puppet, or what the hell is this? And you're not going to believe this. It turns out that the man who was posting about how bad the defense attorney did and about the strategy and commenting at least 3 or 4 times about Hoot Crawford losing his law license. Who is this? Holy smokes, it's an attorney himself. Yeah, so let's see who these attorneys are. There he is. So it's this is the guy. This is Sam Sullivan right there. So this attorney was just going off, and he won't debate me. Why won't he debate me on the issue? I mean, why do you think? But more importantly, why was he so nasty? And why was he giving so many opinions about the case in such a asking for a friend, LOL, kind of way? I wonder. Anyway, I don't know. But then, I'm like, well, hell, if it's an attorney, maybe I could reach out to him. And somebody said, oh, he was going berserk on the Mexico Beach stuff. Oh, really? So I looked at his page, his Facebook profile, and I couldn't believe what I saw. He's friends with all the people that are covering up the corruption in Mexico Beach. He's friends with, what the hell's the guy's name? Lee Elzy, remember the guy that screamed at me and swung his arm trying to punch me in the leg? You remember that? He was on the planning board. These are his friends. The lady who goes up there all the time. The ones pushing the recall against Mayor Miller on fake grounds. He's friends with all the nasty people. Okay, I get it. He probably, maybe he's not a good drinker. That's what Hemingway used to say. Do you drink well? I drink well, and often, but I don't change much when I drink. And I don't drink anymore, really. I don't drink any less. That's my problem, especially tonight. Once I get home, it's going to hit. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is maybe he doesn't, and maybe, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem proper. I usually don't have partners at law firms mouthing off in such a nasty, snarky way, making comments that he does not know about. He surely won't debate me on this issue. All right, so that was weird. Okay, that was a weird thing. But it's common. Again, it's common when a good person gets hurt. So I'm going to show you this too. Hoot Crawford does have a GoFundMe, and it looks like it's going to cost for an appeal to get a fair trial. It's probably going to cost $75,000 at least. So, he has a GoFundMe, and if you are inclined to pitch in, he sure could use it. He is fighting for our right to have an attorney present, because the Bay County Sheriff's Office and DCF will arrest your attorney, take you in custody, question you in an interrogation room without a lawyer, and ask you what you and your lawyer were talking about. And this bum, Kelvin C. Wells, says that's cool in the gang. I'll show you the transcripts. I'll do whatever it takes. Just get me down to the county. I'm working too hard. I don't want to be. You think I'm joking? I'll show you. Look, this is part of the transcript. I'll give you a teaser. I don't really want to go into the dependency case. I don't really want to. I don't want to complicate things. Did he hear it? Did he know or not know? And this guy's working too hard. He wants to go. The only judge in the whole world wants to go down. So in case you wonder why I call him the bum Judge Wells, that's why. That's the nickname that he's got. All right, let's take a look at this. This is the fundraiser. In case you help, I'm not asking for any patrons tonight. He's got $1,000, so he's 1/75th of the way to where he needs to be. But when you see what this judge did to him, you'll see that it is a winning cause, and he needs the help. All right, so it's if you just type in GoFundMe and then Hoot Crawford, you'll find it. It is certainly a worthy cause. All right. Let's get into, what do you want to do first? Let's do the transcripts first, and then I'm going to show you the 3-minute video of the sheriff's office berating him. You say, Bernie, I've already seen it. You haven't seen it like this. I have captioned it, and I'm going to show you exactly what was so wrong about it. So transcripts of Judge Wells first, and why the appeal has merit, and then the video right after this. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
Have you received a speeding ticket for which you want no points placed onto your driving record? I'm El Saline, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
All right, let's get right to the transcripts. This is from the evidentiary hearing. So here's how it works. Before the trial, everything hinged on, remember, he was charged and convicted, charged with interference of child custody. So remember, the child was his client. The sheriff's office and State Attorney Larry Bassford, they argue that they argued this, and Judge Wells said yes, that the attorney had no standing to worry about the rights of someone else that were violated. He didn't have any grounds to do that. He was the attorney. That's his entire purpose, is to worry about whether the girl's rights were violated, and they were. I don't think you understand, really. A 16-year-old victim did not want to go to a voluntary interview. They had just put her in, they had just Baker acted her a few days prior, which I will say might have been proper, because from the sounds of it, She was very emotionally upset. They say she was talking about hurting herself. She was very upset. She's a 16-year-old girl. And nobody in this family hurt her. So they Baker acted her, and 3 days later, a doctor released her and said she's okay to be with mom and dad again, to be with her family again. Immediately, the sheriff's office banging on the door, yelling at the mom. So the girl gets out of being Baker acted. And as soon as she's in her safe home, they're banging on her door again. Investigator Fondren. Mom comes outside. She doesn't want the daughter to see the. So what does Investigator Fondren do? He's shouting at her and screaming at her that she's a bad mom and she's neglecting her kid and she better give up some information. And if not, he's going to arrest her and take all the kids. So she turns on the recorder of her cell phone and then he runs off. Investigator Fondren. So authorities, so she gets a lawyer. She gets Hoot Crawford. And then they schedule a voluntary question session with Department of Children and Families. And so mom and dad and her attorney, who she really loved and felt safe with, by the way, her grandfatherly protector, they go to the voluntary interview. And she has a constitutional right to have her attorney by her side every step of the way, and she's invoked it. She wants it. The last time, 2 times, that she has dealt with the sheriff's office, they have Baker acted her and banged on her door and yelled at her mom. And now here she is just days later. But she's got her lawyer next to her, and he's saying, darling, I'll take care of you. Everything's going to be okay. I'm not going to leave your side. Well, that really pissed off. I might have to show you the video because I'm telling the story. Now I'm going to show you the video first. That really pissed off Lieutenant Jeremy Mathis. Okay, Lieutenant Jeremy Mathis is on the board of directors at the Children's Advocacy Center where the interview was to take place. That's kind of weird. Right, the guy who threatens to kick him out of the Children's Advocacy Center, Jeremy Mathis, is on the board of directors of the nonprofit. But that's probably not as weird as so was Sheriff Tommy Ford and State Attorney Larry Bassford. They're also on the board of directors of the Children's Advocacy Center that they're threatening to kick him out of. And that may not even be as weird as Jeremy Mathis's boss, Major Jimmy Stanford. His daughter is the CEO of the Children's Advocacy Center. It doesn't get any crazier than that, except for his boss, Major Jimmy Stanford's wife, is top brass at DCF. No wonder Jeremy Mathis was so sure of himself. I'll kick you out of here, Hoot, if you don't make her do this and stop advising her. He had all the bases covered, and he had the local DCF supervisor on speed dial. Wow. Let's watch this video. So basically now you've got Hoot saying, look, Jeremy, this is voluntary. I mean, we can leave if we want to. Yeah. So when they tried to leave, that's when Jeremy hurried up and called the DCF guy and said, hey, I need you to snatch this girl. And Hoot said, that's not how it works. We'll be at my office down the road. And then Mathis ran over and arrested Hoot. And then they dragged the girl back. Remember the last 2 times she saw Bay County Sheriff's Office? They Baker acted her, and then they banged on her door, yelled at her mom. So she doesn't really want to be talking to these people alone in the interrogation room. So what do? They arrest her attorney, drag her back to the interrogation room. DCF questions her, and then the sheriff's office, the guy that yelled at her mom, questioned her alone with no attorney. The guy that banged on the door, yelled at her mom, questioned her alone with no attorney. And they asked her what she and Hoot were talking about. They violated her right to an attorney, and they have violated her attorney-client privilege. And this bum, Kelvin Wells, said, yeah, that's cool. We don't need to look at the legality of the affidavit. We don't need to look at whether or not she had her right to attorney violated, if attorney-client privilege was violated. We don't need to do all that. All we need to do is know, did this man, did he hear DCF say she's sheltered? If he heard it, then he's guilty. That's what he said. I'll show it to you. But let's look at how mad Jeremy Mathis, the board of directors at the Children's Advocacy Center. Watch this. And I've put captions in this so it'll make more sense. I'm going to make it bigger so you can read it better. Okay. And I don't really want to talk through this. I just ask you to pay attention, read the captions as it goes along. Okay, here we go.
I don't care. At this point, you are interfering with the investigation into a child molestation case. You're making statements in front of the girl that this is a mental health thing that never happened. Who's told you that? Who's told you that? Who? I mean, all we're going to do is sew up and you're just going to stare at me. You are interfering with an investigation at this point. So if all you're going to do is stare at me, what's the outcome here?
Tell me what my obligation is to answer your questions in a setting like this.
There's no obligation to answer
Then I'm not
anything
going to, I choose not to answer your
But
question.
what I'm trying to figure out is, at what point do you think that you're helping this girl? Because you and I both know this is an end around to try to keep her brother from being charged. That's all it is.
You can certainly have your suspicions of whatever you want to have your suspicions of.
Okay, so just let the girl be molested, let her move on with her life, right? Right? I mean, I've known you and I've trusted you for years. You and I have had multiple discussions. We've had very friendly discussions. We've had very friendly discussions when we had
today
very
you chose
much
to end
differences
that
in
friendship.
case.
Today
But
you come in here and decide to
no,
end it.
Hoot,
To
today
shut all
you
over.
come in
You
here
didn't come in here like be a
interfering.
man and talk to me. You want to
Today
come in here
you come
screaming
in
and
here-
hollering and embarrassing me in
First
front of my
off, I haven't
client.
screamed and
I'm not
hollered
going to
at
put
all.
up with that kind of bullshit.
First of all, you chose to come to the CAC and you chose not to allow somebody to be interviewed who has potentially been molested in the past. All indication that she's been molested in the past. You chose to interfere in that process. You have chosen to sit in here with my investigator and not allow, quote unquote, your client to answer questions.
Is
for
she
you to
obligated to answer
them.
your questions?
In a child molestation interview, it would be nice if she answered questions.
I
absolutely.
understand it. Is she obligated? Do you have a
Are
court
you-
order? Do you have a statute that requires
Are
her to
you
say
obligated?
anything?
Is that what we need to do, Hoot?
Are
Do we need to
she
get
obligated
DCF?
to answer your questions,
Okay.
sir?
Do
I'm
we need
asking
to
you.
get
That's what I'm
DCF?
asking you.
Do we need
Is
to
she
get-
obligated? You said she could voluntarily talk
Do
to
we
you.
need
She has
to get-
chosen not to.
No, she didn't choose not to. You chose and her parents chose for her not to. Do we need to get DCF to shelter that child? Remove y'all from the CAC, her parents, yourself included, from the CAC, and then get an order to do an interview with her? Because we can do that all this afternoon if we need to.
I can't stop you from doing anything, Jeremy. You chose
right.
to do what you chose to do.
No, you.
So the basis of the reason they took the girl into custody, you just saw it. The sheriff's office got mad that the client had an attorney. Testimony in this case continued to say what Hoot Crawford, what the defendant did wrong, was he was telling the girl what to say and what not to say. He was her attorney. He was advising her. That's what attorneys do. because law enforcement claims that accusations are matters of fact, and you need to quit telling the girl to lie. That's what that's what this is all about. Your right to an attorney. If Sheriff Ford can arrest your attorney, put you in custody, and question you over and over without an attorney and ask you, what did your attorney tell you and what did you tell your attorney? And then State Attorney Larry Bassford, they're all on the board of directors. They prosecute you on that basis. Actually, they added the second charge. The state attorney's office, the main prosecutor, Larry Bassford's office, they added tampering with a witness victim. By that, they meant Hoot advising his client. That's what was called tampering with a witness victim. Do you hear me? His appeal is everything. And remember, before this happened, Hoot Crawford expressed interest in running for office against Larry Bassford. And Larry Bassford was the one to advise that guy, Jeremy Mathis, go ahead and make the arrest on the phone. Boy, that took care of that candidate, didn't it? Did it look to you like Hoot Crawford committed? Yeah, but Bernie, he took the kid after they put her in custody. He took the kid. Now we're going to address that. And you will know exactly why this case is up for appeal, because I'm going to show you the transcripts of what Judge Wells said in just a minute.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com. So, in order for an emergency shelter in custody, so what DCF, the Department for Children and Families, do, what they have the authority by state statute to do, is if they see that a child is in immediate danger, if it's observable, immediate, clear, and present danger, they can take that child right now. And then, within 24 hours, they must have a hearing with a judge. And the DCF agent has to submit a petition under oath saying that the kid is, I observed the kid in clear and present danger. Okay? So the petition that the lady who claimed to get run over and went on workers' comp, she's the DCF agent that submitted a false petition to a judge. She lied to a judge. So Lieutenant Mathis could get could snatch the kid. So let's think about where they are, what the immediate and clear and present danger is to the girl. She's in a safe place. She's in the Children's Advocacy Center. She's around law enforcement. She's with her parents and her attorney at a voluntary interview. So after Sheriff Ford and his office Baker acted her, gave an ultimatum to the parents, you do it or we do it. And again, I will say, I can understand that one because I didn't hear any disputes. She was in an emotional breakdown. She's a teenager. And so they did. And then 3 days later, a doctor said she's okay immediately. That was her first interaction with the sheriff's office. As soon as she gets home, they're banging on her door, yelling at her mom, threatening to arrest all the kids. I mean, her and take all the kids. That's her second encounter with Sheriff Tommy Ford's office. Then they say, okay, then they get an attorney who says, all right, we got to go down to the Children's Advocacy Center. Don't worry, it's a safe place, and it's only voluntary. I won't leave your side. Okay, so she gets ambushed. Investigator Fondren and the DCF people, they ambushed her. When she got there, they brought in the heavy hand of the board of directors. 3 people involved here were on the board of directors. Jeremy Mathis, Tommy Ford, and Larry Bassford on the board of directors. They ambushed her. They denied her rights under Marcy's law. They denied her right to an attorney. They snatched her in custody. They didn't tell the parents they later told the parents that left because she was with Hoot. She was with the attorney. So the parents left because it was volatile as hell. Jeremy Mathis was yelling so loud through the walls that the girl was in the other room with her parents crying. It wasn't a safe place. And then they arrested Hoot, and they did that. Imagine how she feels about law enforcement. Who really was tormenting this family and this girl? It's domestic terrorism. All right, so they're free to leave after what you just saw. And when they're in the parking lot, a woman runs out that Hoot Crawford had never seen. She said, I'm with DCF, and I'm taking the kid now. She's sheltered. Now, when this woman, Christine Revels, when she testified under oath, when she was a witness at the trial, I'm gonna do my impression of her, okay? The woman who said she got run over and then went on 5 months of workers' comp, all right? When I was there, I was just trying, it was very alarming. It was just so much yelling. And when I went out there, I said, I don't remember exactly what I said, but okay, so I'm writing notes, and in my notes of the trial, I'm saying it seems like both of the DCF representatives are tranquilized, is what I wrote in my notes. About that time, I get a text, because in state court, you can get text messages. You can bring your phone in. And I get a text from somebody that says, looks like both of the DCF workers are on lithium. That's what I just said. That's what I just. Okay. So this woman runs out, and taking custody. And who's like, look, where are we going? We're going to DCF office just down the way. All right, so they're going to go down there. And then they get a call. Oh, never mind. We got to stay here after all. Forget this. Look, we're going to be down the road. A couple blocks down the road. She'll be at my law office. I'm an officer of the court. As soon as you get a court order, come down. But she turned in an affidavit to the judge saying that she observed that girl in clear and present observable danger. That's the basis upon which the girl was taken into custody and sheltered by the state. But the real truth is she was safe. Even the guy you just saw yelling, Jeremy Mathis, said she was safe with the attorney. Yes, she was safe. He even said he did not fear that she was in danger from her brother. There was no danger from her brother. I'll show you the video. He said that in the trial. So the affidavit was false. They lied to the judge because they wanted to get that girl alone in the interrogation room and ask her about sex. And she was denied an attorney. This is a big deal. This matters. Now let's look at what Judge Wells said. What did he say about all this? So I'm going to show you exactly what he said. Very first thing he said is this. This is the evidentiary hearing. So it all comes down to the whole defense is, again, here's an analogy. Let's say that you have your house seized because they found drugs in your house or something. So you get your house seized. Or maybe, I don't know. Let's just say you have property seized based on a warrant. All right. You go to court. What do you think the whole argument's about? Whether or not the warrant's valid. Was the probable cause real? Did they tell the judge the truth to get the warrant? It's the same thing. Did DCF tell the judge the truth to snatch the girl and deny her rights under Marcy's law? That's the whole issue. If what DCF and the sheriff's office told the judge was not true, and the defense could prove it wasn't true, then it's case dismissed. Or, at the very least, if the judge says, we're still going to go to trial, at least the jury gets to hear that. What Judge Wells did was say, it doesn't matter if the judge was lied to or not. We're going to start the story. The DCF comes out and tells the officer of the court, I'm taking her now. If you were there, in fact, you'll probably see it anyway, because we're going to have to analyze this whole thing. So here's what Judge Wells said first thing. All right, so they're at the evidentiary hearing before the trial, and the whole question is, do they get to challenge the validity, the legality of the affidavit, what the DCF agent told the judge? That's what we're here for the week before trial, evidentiary hearing. And the Judge Wells, this dude here, the judge that disregarded the legality of the affidavit, the bum Judge Kelvin C. Wells, who wants to move down to county court because big circuit court's too busy. He says, I don't want to, he goes, yeah, I know. I know we've been I'm going to read exactly what he says, okay? This is exactly Judge Wells' words. I know we've got but I don't want to complicate it too much for the jury. So the charge is interference with custody? The prosecutor says, yes, Your Honor. The judge says, okay. So my question is, there had been a decision made by the Department of Children and Families. The prosecutor says, to shelter the child, yeah. The judge says, was that the decision made at the shelter hearing after the judge got it? In other words, did the judge grant the shelter custody? And the prosecutor says, that was made on the same day. Yeah, that's what happened, Judge. So the judge goes on. Because now the whole question, does the jury get to hear if the affidavit's valid? But really the judge says it goes more to, and I don't want to dive into the dependency case. If there was a dependency case, I don't know. But if there was, I don't really want to go into the dependency case. I kind of want to stick to the criminal charge case if we can. Now the defense attorney, Mr. Pumphrey, he says, Judge, if it pleases the court, I think we can do both, because they were trying to do a couple motions. And basically you can see what he's saying is, there might be some information contained in the dependency case and in the affidavit that you might want to see. Judge Wells says, I don't want to see anything. He says, I'm not going to go in, Judge Wells, I'm not going to go in to determine the legality of the shelter. Now, you got to understand. That is the judge's entire job. In a criminal trial, the judge is the judge of the law. He has to make decisions about what the jury can hear. And is it an element of the case? The affidavit, yes, it's an element of the case. It is the case. The judge says it's not an element of the case. So I'm not going to rule on it. The jury is the judge of the facts. After the judge determines what the law is, then the jury gets to decide if they believe that guy heard it or not, but they're each finders of fact. Well, they're the finders of fact. He's the finder of the law, the arbiter of the law. And he punted. He said, I'm not going to do it. Look, I'm not going to do his job. I'm not going to go in to determine the legality of the shelter. Like it's not an element of the case. It is the element of the case. Basically, the elements of the offense, or what they are, is whether or not he had knowledge. What the judge is saying is the only thing that matters is, did Hoot Crawford, the attorney, did he hear the DCF agent come out for the first time he ever saw her and say, I'm taking the child now as a custody shelter? If he heard that, then damn it, he was told. And they kept saying that. He was told over and over, Your Honor. He was told over and over. And the judge said, that's where we're going to start, when he was told. That's the whole thing. So he told the jury, there's three things. If Hoot took her to his office, if she's under 18, and if he heard the DCF agent, he's guilty. That's the problem here. Did he have knowledge? I would suspect would be one of the elements if he had knowledge. And the state would have the burden of proof. You got to prove that he heard it. And that would be a question for a finder of fact. In other words, a jury. And the prosecutor goes, yes, Your Honor, yes. And speaking with the defense attorney about the issue, my concern is if we get to trial. See, my concern, look at this. The prosecutor says his concern is all this testimony and argument regarding what law enforcement, the probable cause they had. The prosecutor was concerned the jury would hear that they had no probable cause. Do you see that? And the judge said, you don't have to worry about that. I'm not going to let them hear any of that. That's what the bum Kelvin C. Wells did. He ensured that the jury could not hear anything about the probable cause. And here's why. This is why I call him a bum. He doesn't want to do his job at all. I don't want to be put in a position, he says, where I'm trying to determine whether or not it was legal. You are in that position. You're the judge. That's your entire job in every single case like this. Did the probable cause meet the threshold to get the damn warrant, to get the damn order? But I don't want to be in that position. Well, then take the robe off, you bum. If it had legal grounds, I don't want to decide that. That's how he talks too, by the way. I'm only slightly understating it. Just whether they did it or not. That's all I care about. Whether he did it or not. I don't care if the probable cause. And the prosecutor Sullivan's going, yeah, Your Honor, yeah. Do you know I was sitting behind the prosecutor at the trial? And when the judge reaffirmed that, the prosecutor Sullivan looks over at his partner and he's like, the judge can't see his face, but I can. He's like, he couldn't believe they pulled that off. He couldn't believe it. The whole thing is whether they did it. And then here's Sullivan again. And so that's essentially the essence of the motion, Your Honor, that what they want to do, they want to know whether there's a legal basis to shelter the child. We don't want to do that. Look at that bottom one. The essence of the defense motion is whether they had a legal basis to shelter the child. Like in every single case like this. And Judge Wells said, you don't have to worry about that. We ain't doing that. I don't want to be put in that position. That's what happened. And that's why we need an appeal. Judge Wells says, so now he's going to decide. Now he's going to decide if the motion is granted or denied. The motion by the defense to say, hey, we get to talk about whether or not there was probable cause, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. Is the judge going to grant that motion or deny it? The judge says, so as to determine the legality of the sheltering, as I stated, I mean, I haven't heard that testimony yet. But if everybody is conceding that she did say that, the DCF agent, and she told that to the defendant, and that the child was being sheltered, that would be sufficient. That's all he needed to hear. It's sufficient if he heard what she said. So the motion is denied. You see that? Feast your eyes on that. The issue, or not, the issue is, he said, the only issue is not probable cause. The only issue is whether or not he heard her tell him. He told him over and over, Your Honor. She told him over and over. The DCF agent told the officer of the court, I mean, when you see her testimony, you're going to know what I'm talking about. The judge said, so the issue is whether or not he had knowledge of the custody proceedings. And then he tells the defense attorney, let's try to move along, Mr. Pumphrey. Let's try to move along. All right. You've been beating a dead horse with this probable cause stuff. And we're not doing that here. I don't want to be put in that position. I don't want to be put in a position to decide the probable cause. Okay. So what's it mean to you? It means that now the sheriff's office thinks they can arrest your lawyer, drag you in. You have no right to an attorney. They can question you and they can ask what you and your attorney said before they arrest your attorney, before they arrested him. And then they know they got a prosecutor and Larry Bassford. They're all members of the same board of directors at the CAC. All of them. Mathis, Ford, Bassford. They're all board members. And then the third in command at the sheriff's office, his wife runs DCF, and his daughter runs the Children's Advocacy Center. I mean, they had this thing every angle. And then the judge said, you don't even get to talk probable cause. We believe they were all told the judge the truth. That's what we're going to start with. Yeah, we need an appeal. All right. This matters. This matters a lot. Thank you to the Unknown Patriot for your support. Thank you for all of you who support the show with crowdfunding, by being patrons, by throwing a tip in the tip jar. It matters. I cannot do it without you. And for those of you who do it, thank you. There's a lot more coming. You're going to know so much more about this. I'm having so many attorneys tell me this is the most shocking thing they have seen in a courtroom. And it has reach, and it has emboldened it has really, really emboldened the creepy psychopaths that want to take your kids, arrest your lawyer, and then ask the kids, what did you and your lawyer talk about?